So the next individual that I'd like to introduce, his name is Ed G. He's from Northern California. Again, he's the PR chair of Northern California region. And Ed, I want to ask you the same question, but I'd like you to put your spin on it because you have experience with the meetings opening and then closing again. So, you know, would you be able to tell us a little bit about what the reopening process was like, you know, what your communication with groups was like, and what happened on the tail end when you guys started to close?
Sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's always an honor to share experience, strength, and hope, especially this one where the experience is completely new constantly. And so I think the first and foremost thing was that we identified our obstacles. And I know you all know about that, which was basically our obligations to the organizations we rent from, our obligations to our insurance company, our obligations to our local governments and our public health departments, and mostly the obligations we have to our fellowship. And at that point, being very available for discussions, because when we shut down, my phone was red freaking hot for almost 60 days. And there's no question about it. I spoke to some of the most angry, upset, you know, stone hard, just, but by sharing the experience of, you know, this is our obstacle and this is what we're up against, each one of those people gradually changed to where they come to realize that we are in a very new experience, of which NA we have nothing to prepare for where we're at. And so that really helped in laying down a groundwork of being proactive in everything we did. So my committee, I'm fortunate, I have a well-built community, committee working alongside of me, or actually above me. And so I don't know where it came from. I just had a vision to take this dead seriously and treat it dead seriously all the time, listen to all the details that's coming out. And the first thing I did is we put out a letter telling people that we had to follow the law. And the very next day, which was a Saturday, I called my state public health department and got a recording to saying, leave a message. So I left them a message, and on the very next day, on Sunday, they called me up and let me know that that the directive is coming down at a county level, which I think is probably the same almost everywhere in the United States. And so, yeah, what did opening look like? Well, opening looked like we had a lot of leeway, right? Because when New York was when it was really starting to take off in this country, we were being told what reopening looked like. And what that was originally 10 days of declining infection. That's 10 days in a row of declining infection. And, you know, I want to tell you guys that I keep those numbers. Every day I write them down. I've been writing them down since the very beginning. And there's never been a decline. And you know that, right? And so it was easy for me to tell my fellowship that, you know, we're going to get to a point where we can reopen, but don't expect that the doors are going to swing open and we're, you know, going back to normal. And that wasn't a difficult shot to call. It is, however, a difficult conversation. People are waiting with bated breath to get back, you know, but the truth is we're not there yet. And so, what I did is I put out a letter to every county, every area in my region. And in that letter was a preview of what it's going to look like to open. In that letter was a link to the county website. So every area could just click on the link to their county, no matter where the meeting is at. And that's going to give the latest press releases for their county public health, because it's different, especially in California. I'm in Alameda County. It's one of the most affected counties in the Bay Area. But if I go 30 minutes away from here, I'm in rural California, and meetings are far and few between, and it's vastly different. So it's been difficult to express one set of direction for everybody. The more rural you go, the less likely they are to want to comply with what's going on. They don't get it. And what I want to tell you is that what's become really clear to us is that the discussion isn't about death. It's about the lasting repercussions of being sick. You know, we have no opinion. This is true. But as addicts and who have a huge population of members who are at risk, we must come to realize that the best outcome is that we recover. The second best outcome is that we die. And the third best outcome is that we live the rest of our lives with debilitating conditions, brain damage, lung damage, kidney damage, liver damage, nervous system damage. And that's something that we must be aware of, because this is where we're at. And so we take it very serious. We created a document with that kind of, after I created the document that kind of gave an outline of what it should look like and how your area should, the things that your area needs to consider. Then I send it out to those areas, and then they are free to create their meeting guide, reopening protocol. And in that protocol, of course, was the social distancing protocol, which requires, you know, we put out, which requires, well, I mean, getting ahead of myself. It requires, you know, a sanitization plan. It requires signage. It requires a protocol on, you know, what was it? Oh, I'm drawing a blank, but basically it requires all the things a meeting's going to need to do to reopen. And then that once it went out to the areas, one of the areas in Northern California, the American River area of NA, created their outline. And their outline was phenomenal. It was basically maybe 6 or 8 pages that had the directive that the Northern California region, you know, produced, and an outline of what it would look like to open up meetings, which was, you know, the limit on how many people you can have in the meeting, how you're going to sanitize, what the spacing is, signage, the whole, everything. And, you know, we were fortunate. We put that out on social media, just trying to get it to our, we sent it actually to the areas and to the PR chairs and social media. And in 4 hours it went viral, and it was all over the country. And frankly, I think in 4 hours is 23 states and 5 different countries. So, and we still get requests for it. It's an impressive document. It has everything you need. And in essence, the American River area has a guideline that says that that you have to meet this protocol to get your meeting back on the schedule. And so so they started opening up meetings, and it's been a challenge because the rules in California are very strict. And what we found is that most meetings are not capable of meeting that guideline. What we found really is that meetings start and members are fundamentally incapable of following social distance protocol. They want to hug, they want to hold hands, they don't want to wear masks, they, you know, all that stuff. And we also find that there are 2 different populations in the fellowship. There are those who pretty much, you know, have been doing meetings from the very beginning, and they're not going to quit, and they're the ones that tend to show up to meetings now. And then there's those of us who are at risk or live with or have contact with at-risk populations that refuse to go to a meeting until things get back to normal. So we've been in this weird state of flux, and starting today, the new directive came down that any gathering in a closed facility is now illegal. You know, now I want to say that they gave a directive. In the directive, they gave specific. I don't know. You know, it's like no restaurants, no church, no social gatherings, and all this different stuff. And the whole time, NA has been kind of regarded somewhat in some areas as a essential service. And now we're at a point of recognizing they're not using the term essential service now. They're I forget the term that they're using, but it's basically if you're not a crisis organization, you can't have meetings in the closed room. So who knows what's going to be tomorrow? It's going to be a very different day than today, for sure. And I would tell you that the document that we have and we put out is something you're all going to want to see. I will put my email address on the chat and be happy to send it out to you. It is, of course, not a directive. It is food for thought for your groups. And it's been, like I said, picked up by groups and areas in 25 different states or 23 different states in a bunch of countries. Yeah, it's there for your availability.